At the end of the fifth line, page Mem Vav, corresponding to chapter 91, which is page 91, chapter 26, Shaar HaEmunah by the Middler Rebbe. And this is what happens when our heart goes on fire for Hashem. V'zehu tzama lecha nafshi nefesh elokis. When my soul thirsts for you, tzama lecha nafshi, that is for Hashem, that is for the godly soul. Kuma lecha basari. How much my flesh wants, nefesh ativius. How much my flesh wants, how much my heart wants, this is the nefesh ativius, this is the rational soul. V'zehu ikar ha'hefresh bein oivdi Hashem benishmasam l'avoidei Hashem b'gufam. And this is the difference that occurs within the avoida of the soul and the difference to what happens to the avoida that happens inside of the body. Kiyudua. Shizehu ha'hefresh shebein ha'tefila dechol l'shabbos. And this is like the difference between tefillah that occurs on Chol and that occurs on Shabbos. Now I'm thinking that the avodah that happens in Nefesh Elokis represents the avodah that happens in Chol, and the avodah that happens on the Nefesh Ativius corresponds to the avodah tefillah that happens on Shabbos. That's right, I think. V'amnam hine beis minei avodah vis pilus. But there are two types of avodah and its pilus, as we said above. Rachukim be'erech hazeh mezeh, and they're completely distant from one to the other. The avodah that happens in the soul is like totally different, without comparison, to the level of avodah that exists inside the body. And you can compare it, but really they're not comparable. The way Zel is totally different. And in fact, if they were to occur within the mensch at the same time, meaning that they are emphasized at the same time, then they would confuse each other. So what that means is, while there has to be emphasis on avodah of the divine soul, and there has to be an emphasis on the avodah that goes on in the body, nevertheless, if you emphasize both of them at the same time, they'll just become confused. You can really only emphasize one at a time. That makes sense. You know, you can only put on your pants one leg at a time. Okay. Kidua. V'chol mebein shebiyois his pilus ha'atzmius beruchnius shebeneshamos ba'atzmius. As it's known, that when there is a hispilus that occurs when the essence, the spiritual essence in the soul of a person itself, of the elokus, of the godliness, az kasher yashkil b'anai basar, and then what happens when the fleshy eyes come around with its own tam, its seichel shebo moach v'leiv gashmi, when the heart and the brain starts to intellectualize with its own fleshy eyes and what's going on, that it'll actually confuse the hispilus and the arousal that's going on in the nefesh elokis itself. So you can't place the two at the same time. Why? Why can't you have... Why not? What's wrong with having your eyes perceiving and intellectualizing on Hashem and saying, oh yes, I see with Hashem, with my physical eyes, and also emphasizing at the same time, hey, my soul that's above me, I'll also look at Hashem. One's above, one's down here. This one's above, it's existing on this plane. One's down here, it's existing on this plane. They'll both go at exactly the same time. Why can't I do this one and why can't I do this one and emphasize both at the same time? They're kind of existing on different planes of existence. What's wrong? Why would that confuse at all? Seemingly they would help each other out. Okay. Lefi, mevalvel ze l'spilus ha'atzmius, it would mevalvel. Lefi, why? Shu mastir al yedei hagashmas hamoach v'leiv, because the physical brain in the physical heart will actually hide the light that's existing at the level of where it's perceiving the essence of Hashem. Meaning, the divine light, the divine soul that's above, that's going, wow, look at Hashem, I'm perceiving His essence, baby, this is great, look at all this. I mean, that's not really what it's saying over there, but it's like, it's in a level of self-nullification. If the physical eyes were like, go to that level and be like, hey, godly soul, look what I'm existing down here. Well, what happens is those physical eyes don't perceive essence on the way that the godly soul is perceiving essence. It's not perceiving essence. It's on a, for the sake of this purpose, it's on a lower level. So if it's gonna say, hey, I'm perceiving Hashem down here, it's actually gonna hide a little bit of the light that the divine soul is perceiving when it's perceiving mahus va'atzmus. Okay. Im yamik b'spailos hamach v'leiv agashmi, that when a person goes with the depth of their heart and the depth of their brain in order to be aroused in the Eibishter, if it's doing it at the same time that the divine soul is perceiving Hashem, yistalik or his pilos haruchnius v'lo yeshkenu ke'echad, it's actually going to remove that light, and it's going to focus on something different, something seemingly a little lower, kaviyachol, than the arousal that occurs in this spiritual state. They can't reside as one. V'lo yishkenu ke'echad. Im kain im hayu gam einav lamayla, and if his eyes were to be above, kamosh shaliboy lamayla, like his heart is above, dafka lo yishkenu yachad, his eyes and his heart can't dwell as one. Okay, we're going to get into that. Why can't his eyes and heart dwell as one in the place above? Why? Because we're going to get into this now, that a person's heart needs to be above and his eyes below. And his heart represents this level of divinity that's existing and perceiving Hashem at His essence. And his physical eyes can't go to his heart, which is in a spiritual state above, because it's going to remove any light that the light could possibly receive at an essential level.